Hello YouTube, hi, my name is Mark. This is Nixon Motorsports. If you're new to this channel, we're all about motorsports, from racing to exotic cars and even simulators. Today's video, we're going to do a little bit of maintenance in prep for our racing season that starts for us in about 2 weeks. So you'll see a little bit of just maintenance activity and such, get it back on the scales for setup and so on. But two other things I think you might find of interest. I need to replace the batteries in my TPMS sensors. So if you happen to have IZZE sensors like I do, you have to change the batteries every year, thereabouts. So I'm going to show you the steps and how to do that. And secondly, I'm going to show you what I'm doing with video broadcasting, basically sending live car video stream directly to you at the pit wall, or at least I'm going to attempt to do that. So kind of cool, let's get into it. All right, so let's start first with video broadcasting. What the heck am I talking about? So, you know, I love to tinker and try new things. I don't think this will work, but I'm going to try it. So for those of you who know the AIM products, the Smarty Cams, right? The new Smarty Cam 3 Dual is pretty much a professional grade video recording device for your race car. And I went ahead and installed that, bought it, installed it in the car. Now, you know, if you watch this channel at all, I do a lot of in-car video. I use my cam box, my visor cam, right, in my helmet. I love that thing. By the way, if you have interest in those, you should check them out. They're way cool. But I added the Smarty Cam 3, and why? Well, first, okay, look, it gives me, let me pan over here. It gives me a forward-facing camera that's fixed to the chassis, and then a rear-facing camera that's looking backwards, right? So I thought, you know, that's kind of cool. The real reason, though, is the Smarty Cam 3 Dual has a really cool feature that's really for the professional teams. It will transmit live video, or at least broadcast that or provide it to a port that is a 3G SDI. It's a standard video format that the industry uses and has for a long time. That video stream is 1080p, so that's 1920 by 1080p at 60 frames. So it's actually way cool. It's HD broadcast from your race car. So everything that you gather in your Smarty Cam, you know how you set up your channels for display, your track map, you know, everything you're looking at, everything that would be recorded on your solid state disc for the Smarty Cam is actually transmitted should you turn this feature on. So I've turned it on, and so my idea is, man, it would be just awesome if I could actually transmit that live in-car video to the pit wall so my crew can actually see what I'm seeing, right? I haven't seen anybody doing this. The chance of this working is probably very, very low, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I've done a fair amount of research in options, and I thought about going with 4G since my car has 4G capability or on it. To transmit over cell network. I tried that a little bit too. Look, the bandwidth for HD video, even if you reduce the frames per second, even if you reduce resolution a little bit, it's very taxing on a cell network, at least 4G. And I use that for telemetry and so on. So I moved away from that thinking that, yeah, that's probably not going to work very well. So I turned my attention to trying to look for video, wireless video transmitters, you know, broadcasting devices that I could actually use in the race car. There's a couple of them out there. Some are quite pricey. They probably work. I didn't want to spend that kind of money. Anyway, I ended up with a product from DJI, and it's actually pretty cool. Let me just pan down here and show you. So here is a here's my receiver itself, and I have it off, of course. This receiver is actually battery powered, as you can kind of see here in the back. It has these, pan over here, it has these flexible high gain antennas, and you can put other ones on, of course. And this is a self-contained unit. These are made primarily for video production, right? And for video production, they like to have, you know, monitors all over the place. So that's what these are made for. The transmitter itself is in the race car. Let me go over here and show you. So the transmitter, I mounted in the race car. And I just mounted this, let me go down here. I mounted this right here against the side of my fuselage here. And so this is taking the feed directly from the SmartyCam 3. It's getting power from the car. The antennas here are connected to an extension, and I brought the antennas up to the very top part of the race car. So, does it work? Absolutely, it works here in the pits, right? And I can roam around, obviously, and it works great. Now, on track is going to be a question, and I'm not expecting this to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I'll show you once we get on track here in a couple weeks this. Now, for specs on this DJI Video Transmit Receive unit, it's 20,000 feet. It is line of sight, so that's the issue. But 20,000 feet is more than enough distance. If you think about from being on the pit wall and a race, you know, your race car, your driver on track, you know, a couple mile distance or so from where you're standing typically is enough. 20,000 feet, that's what, almost four miles. So we'll see, should be fun. Anyway, that's the video broadcast transmission thing I'm doing. Call it a POC, right? Proof of concept. If it works, I'm sure I'll do a full video on it. I'm not at this point because I don't expect this to work. All right, so on the race car itself, I am running at Arizona in 2 weeks. It's on the ground at the moment. I'm gonna have to roll this on the scales like I normally do. Car is pretty much ready to go. Gearing, oil change, all those basic things have been done. I'm going to put it on the scales just to remeasure, double check my setup that I have in the car. If you've seen other videos, you know, I do that frequently. I will possibly make a small change to the setup, but more than likely it's going to be very close to what I have. So let's get the car on the scales, and I'll show you setup here in a minute. Kind of walk you through whatever changes I do, okay? Before I do that, bolt and nut check. So that's a common thing. If you guys don't do it, you should. But basically, you go around the entire car. You look at, especially around the suspension parts. You double check, make sure all your mounting hardware, right, is tight. A lot of guys will put a small little bead of paint when they put nuts or bolts on the car. I don't do that. I just go around and I'm double checking, you know, uprights and everything like that. So that's a good idea. If you don't do that on a frequent basis, I would suggest you do. All right, so now let me talk and show you what I'm doing with the IZZE sensors themselves. Let me pan down here and show you. Now, if you haven't seen it, I did a video on the IZZE sensors in the past. This is a TPMS sensor, goes inside your wheel. You can see it has a little antenna on it. It's got this big old device out here. This is also a 16-channel temperature sensor. So this actually is measuring the entire width of the inside of your tire. So way cool. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Now, this is my first time changing the battery. So I flip this over. On the bottom side here, you can see it has a battery. It's actually epoxied in this kind of a cup here, right? They do not last forever. The manufacturer says about a year, year and a half. That's about right. I had these in for almost 2 years. And I can tell you the end of last year, they definitely were giving me issues. So I have to swap out the batteries, and here's my stash of brand new batteries. And sure enough, I took one out already, and they're pretty much flat dead. So process-wise, if you have these sensors, if you don't, by the way, these are really intense, really good sensors. The process is if you have a heat gun, it's probably the best thing to do. So I have one sitting over here. You take your sensor, you need to put a pair of pliers on this or something, it'll get hot. But ultimately, you get your heat gun going, you heat this up for about 30 seconds, like so. Not too hot. The manufacturer says about 500 degrees is kind of the upper limit, so you don't want to overcook it. But about 30 seconds at the most, you take it off, and then you, with a pair of pliers holding this, you have a small opening around the side of the battery here, intentionally left open with no epoxy. That you need to use with a screwdriver, and you pry the battery out. If it doesn't want to come out with not too much effort, then add a touch more heat, and keep going back and forth until it actually wants to come out. Okay, so let me go ahead and heat this one up, and let's see what it looks like pulling this battery out. Okay, so I heated this up. I used a little screwdriver here, and then I pried out this battery. This is the one that was in the unit. And you need to clean up and basically take the epoxy off the side of the casing here, right? It's not a big deal. Once you heat it up, you can use a screwdriver, just kind of pry that up. So that's the PCB inside. It's ready for a new battery to be installed. Just out of grins, I thought, let's just see what the voltage is on this thing. So if I can one-handedly, hang on a second, one-handedly do this. Nope, that's not going to work. Anyway, I checked the battery voltage. This particular battery is actually not as bad as the last one that I took out, which is interesting. But anyway, my brand new battery, I double checked it, so you have positive in the center, negative on the side here. Make sure that the battery is fully charged and ready to go before you put all this in. But all you do here at this point is you take off this plastic cover right here. It just slides right off, and then you turn your battery over. You align your pins, and then you'll slide it in. Now you need to double check that these pins are no more than about 4 millimeters tall, so you have to trim them slightly. But once you do that, your battery then will sit in your housing like this. And I'm going to do each of them, or do all of them at first. Then I will actually use an epoxy resin. So this is what the manufacturer recommends. So I'll use epoxy and put a little bead around the outside of this to keep the battery in place. And at that point it will need to cure. It takes, I think, about 2 hours or thereabouts before you mount them, put them in, that type of thing. So pretty cool. Let me do a few more of these. As I see or find something that I need to tell you, I'll bring you back and talk about it. All right, I have these new batteries put in place. I just put a small amount of epoxy. If I pick this one up, you can see just about 2/3 of the rim, put epoxy bead around there. So I need to let them set for a little bit. Once they tack up a touch, I can go ahead and get these sensors put back on the wheels. And of course, at that point, I can have tires mounted, right? So not too complicated, kind of a pain in the rear end. You can send these back, by the way, to IZZE, and they'll do this for you. It's not really that big of a deal. It just, it took me about an hour or so. So just kind of keep that in mind. I would probably, in fact, I'll start doing that. I think at the end of each season, I'll just replace batteries just for the heck of it. So I don't have to worry about batteries dying on me mid-season, right? But that's it on the batteries. Hey, so I thought I would do something quick here before I put the car on the scales. and double check setup. So on the video broadcast, let me just pan down here. Here's the monitor. I'm just holding this thing with my hand, and it's showing you what the cameras see. If I roll around to the front of the car, see, you can see me there holding the monitor and such in the front of the car. So I'm going to just, for the heck of it, walk up around the track up that way, if you can see. So it's got a little elevation. I'm just going to do a simple little test to see if it'll even do that, just sitting in here in the garage. So let me get in the truck. Let's head up there and see what it does. All right, so I'm just walking up from the garage. Let me spin around here. See down there? Well, maybe you can't see, but there's the garages down there. I'm not that far away, but here, check this out. So this is live from the race car. Seems to work extremely well. Now I'm just sitting in the garage. I get it. I don't have any engine noise, you know, possible interference, that kind of stuff going on. I'm not that far away either, but this is encouraging, right? Because this thing is supposed to be line of sight. You can see there's a little bit of building stuff in the way, plus it's sitting in a metal building in the garage. That's way cool. Who knows? Maybe this thing actually works. The real test, of course, will be to get on the track. So that will happen in 2 weeks. But I just thought I would walk up here and show you if it even worked like this. All right, so I have the car in the scales. I made a couple changes. For those who have seen me do this before in setup, I use Excel. This document actually is a physical dynamic input into Motec, my analysis software, but that's what I use to actually track, record all of the static changes that I do to the car, right? So ride height on each corner, on and on, right? So I have hundreds of properties here that I record. So on the car, for the Arizona track that we're going to be at in the next couple weeks, I haven't been on it before, just looking at video. It's very flat. It looks like it's a halfway decent track. I am running basically my Eagles Canyon setup to start with out there. Gearing, ride height, springs, that type of thing. It's probably a good baseline. While I had it on the pads though, I just verified measurements and settings. I did notice I had my front main angle, and I'm referring to this big wing here itself, was slightly different than what I thought I ran previously, so that was interesting. I recorded that, made a small front flap change, and so on. Pretty much the same setup. So car's ready to go. I'll put the trailer tires on it. Have you seen these things? It's pretty cool. These are just motorcycle tires with special inserts, so I can actually get the car up elevated so I can actually roll it into the trailer. Anyway, I'll do that, get it in the trailer, finish up some of the loading in the trailer and so on. But that's it for this video. Pretty short. Hopefully you found this of interest. I was a little quiet over the winter. We had all kinds of things going on, homes and that kind of thing, so it was a distraction. I wanted to actually get a new racing seat built over the winter. I did not have time to do that. I will get to that probably over the next, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I'll show you a process of actually building a custom molded seat. I think you might find that of interest. But that's it. You'll see a video or two for the Arizona US Majors race that's coming up. Again, first time out of that track, should be interesting. We're kicking off the season with that this year, and you know, follow along. I think you'll enjoy that. Now, you know, as I teased and showed you some of the stuff of this video transmission, if that works, I'll do a video just on that to show you all the specifics of what I selected and how I have it set up. Again, I'm not expecting it to work. So anyway, but if you haven't hit that button, do it. You know, subscribe if you would. I enjoy the comments, all of you, way cool. I do have, on a non-racing track, I do have a video or two coming out that I'll be doing for my, my Jeep Rubicon. I have a 392, that's the 470 horse Hemi engine in the Jeep. And anyway, I'm doing a lift on it. I'm putting a 3.5-inch lift on it, 37 tall tires, you know, a few body part pieces and whatever not. So if you're interested in that type of thing, stay tuned. That will be coming probably about 4 or 5 weeks. I should have that ready to go. All right, that's it for now. Till next time.